Welcome to Sunday Springboard with Melanie and Kimberlyn Coaching, where we help women recover from and flourish after stress and trauma. Stop. Let me back up. When I was a parent, my children were young. Looking back, I kind of think I was a bit of a helicopter parent. I was very careful to make sure my children were never upset, and I would always fix everything and protect them. And I was a stay-home mom. And so I was at their beck and call. If they forgot their lunches or their glasses or whatever, I was just there, Johnny on the spot, taking it to school. So one day when my daughter was in third grade, I got a call from her teacher saying, I just want to let you know everything's okay. Your daughter is upset at the moment, but I want you to understand what's going on, why I did what I did, and I just want you to understand. She says, your daughter has forgotten her homework at school. And I knew she'd done it. And at first I'm thinking, oh no, let me bring it to her. And she says, I'm not going to allow her to call you to bring it to her because I want her to learn that she can live through a situation such as this where she forgets her homework. And as I thought about it afterwards, I thought, what a wise woman this teacher was. I was not very wise. I was codependent. I didn't want my children to experience anything that I considered bad. I judged circumstances, good or bad, and I only wanted them to be happy. And so I did not allow them to have circumstances where they could experience the negative, but have me there to help them and then them to learn they could get through this. Thankfully, my daughter had a teacher who was wise enough to help her do that. So this story is actually an example of what we don't want to do and what we're not talking about today. Let me share my screen with you. If you remember, we've been talking for weeks and weeks and weeks about how to reduce stress. How can we regulate ourselves and calm ourselves when we get stressed and triggered and we feel that rush of the hormones. And then we've talked about looking at our situations to decide which situations should we eliminate, which ones can we tweak. And then we've been for many weeks talking about how to decrease our reaction to stress because we realize that what the circumstance is not actually what is stressing us out, it's our reaction to the stress. We've talked about core disciplines, which are these powerful concepts that when we put these to play in our lives, this helps us live powerfully, live energetically, and stress has less of an impact on us. We've talked about becoming aware of what's going on around us, accepting what is, um, having conscious choice, not just running on the habits that our brains are used to running on. We've talked about trusting the process once we've made a decision, not constantly just tweaking and changing things and second guessing ourselves. We've talked about being ourselves, being authentic, how stressful it is to try to be someone you're not, try to fit in somewhere that you're not like those people. Whereas if you're just yourself, they might like you or they may not, but you will definitely be at more peace. And when we don't judge situations, we know that we're going to learn from them. We don't have to be afraid. We can have confidence. We've talked about the importance of connection with ourselves, with other people, with our creator. Now we're on the second day of presence in the moment. If you missed all of these core disciplines and you want to watch them, there's a link in the show notes where you can go to my YouTube channel and you can watch them at your leisure. So we've been talking about presence in the moment, and today we're going to talk about detached involvement as well as how to develop presence in the moment. So last week we talked about the concept of what does it mean to be present in the moment. That means now is all there is. The past is gone. There's no use in worrying about it. The future hasn't come yet. Anything I'm worrying about that, I'm just wasting my time. All I have is right now. And we talked about how some questions to ask yourself to determine how present are you being. We talked about distractions that we can have. Last week we talked a lot about digital distractions, but different things that can distract us. And then today we're going to talk about detached involvement, which is a concept that if you can grab hold of this and work toward it, this will definitely help you be present in the moment and have less stress. Then I'm going to give you some tips for developing presence in the moment. Excuse me. So detached involvement sounds a little paradoxical, right? You're detached and yet you're involved. You're both at the same time. You're the participant and the observer. It's a little nebulous, it's a little complex. So let's talk about it some more. And then hopefully, as we talk about it and you try some of these ideas, you will start to feel it. And then you will actually for yourself know what this means and why this is powerful. So to have detached involvement, we're not going to judge. We're not going to judge experiences as bad or good. We're just going to accept that all experiences are part of life's journey. Along the way, we're going to experience some pain. We're going to experience some sad. We're going to experience some happy. And all the different emotions are just part of life. We're just going to allow ourselves to experience them rather than trying to find ways to get away from them. That idea of I cannot allow myself to feel these negative emotions are what create a lot of our addictions because we're trying to not feel the negative. Whereas if we just allow ourselves to feel them and step back and say, oh, I'm feeling some sadness, I'm feeling some anger. We can step back a little and say, I'm feeling this. You don't have to say, I'm depressed. You can say, I'm having some feelings of depression. We are not our emotions, but if we can allow ourselves to have them, they don't have to become part of who we are. When you can have this detached involvement, this helps you be better in control of your responses to life. As we've talked before, if we're not conscious, we're just reacting out of old habits, out of all the neurons that have made connections in our brain. And when we learn how to step back, look around, be less attached to the outcome, which is what we're talking about here, then we have more control and we can respond in the moment. We are fully involved, but we're detached from the outcome. So, am I saying that you don't care about anything? That you just don't do anything? You be apathetic? What will come, will come? No, we're not. You can still care very much about whatever this is you're looking at, this job, this experience. You can be very invested in it and work very hard for it. But you may have a preference and you may want this specific, prefer this specific outcome, but allow yourself to feel like, okay, if I don't get what I want, I might be disappointed a little bit, but it'll be okay. So I'm not so um, focused and so attached to a specific outcome. So we're aware of it, and yet we're isolated from it. See, these words, like I said, they seem paradoxical, and they are, but they actually complement each other very much and allow you to kind of, we say we're so in the middle of the forest, we can't see the forest for the trees. If you can do this, detach a moment, step back a little bit, then you can see a little bit more around you and you're not so overwhelmed with just this very little part. So we're connected and we're separated at the same time. Now, why do we even want to do this? So when you can have this, when you can achieve this detached involvement, and you probably won't do it all the time, but the moments that you feel it, you will know, and you can more quickly focus in the moment. You can achieve your true potential. You can be more powerful. And let me just give you some examples of this. Let's say you've got a test. You're a college student or a student, and you have a test, and you feel like I have to make this number, this grade on this test. It puts a lot of pressure on you, puts a lot of anxiety on you. And when you try to study, your brain is starting to go offline because, as we've talked before, when you feel stressed and your brain pours all those hormones, then your brain, the thinking and rational part of your brain, is not working as well as it could. So your brain is not online, your brain is foggy, you're trying to learn all this information, then you go in for the test, you're anxious, and you don't do as well on the test as you could have. So if you had had this other thought, if you had had detached involvement, you would have said, I'm going to study the best I can for this test. I'm going to work as hard as I can, and then whatever happens, happens. So when you have that sense, you would have peace, you would spend the time, your brain would be online, so you would learn it better, you would go into the test, and um, you would be able to react and respond and take the test with all the power and the intelligence and the education that you had. This applies in all areas. So at work, you have a project, and you have a certain outcome you feel like you have to have. If maybe you're trying to make your own business and I have to make this many sales, all these different things that if you have to have this certain outcome, it puts pressure, it puts stress, it makes you anxious. It takes away your ability to live powerfully with your brain online. If you can step back, do the work, let go of the outcome, then you can perform more powerfully and you're more likely to get the outcome that you want. So, how do we learn to practice detached involvement? I'm going to give you some little tips. Try some of them and see how they work, see how they feel. Let me know how they work if it helps. First of all, it says take nothing personally. What does this mean? This means when someone is responding to you in a way that they're being rude or they're being mean or this or that, this says more about them than it says about you. When if you're in an abusive situation, they're trying to tell you, I wouldn't have done this to you if you hadn't done this. With this detached involvement, we can step back and we can say, wait a minute, I didn't cause that. That has nothing to do with me personally. Maybe someone ignores you and you think, oh, they're mad at me. Well, maybe they were just focused on something else. So don't take things personally. Just step back, let yourself be detached, and be able to think about the situation and say, I don't know why they did that, but I'm not going to take it as being anything about me. Make no assumptions. So assumption means I assume that because it happened this way in the past, it's going to happen this way in the future, or for good or bad, right? So if I did it this way, good, and now it's going to happen good. Or if I did it this way and it did not go like I wanted, well, then I believe, oh, if I try it again, it's not going to work again. So don't have any assumptions because you don't know. Today is different than yesterday. You're at a different spot. The world is a different spot. What didn't work before might work well now. So don't have assumptions. Make as few judgments as possible. As I said earlier, we tend to judge a circumstance or an emotion or an experience as good or bad. Try not to do that. Try to just accept it as it is. Look for the positive and look for the lessons. And then if you can't find either one of those, just accept it as an experience and know that someday you will either understand it or you won't, but this too shall pass. And then letting go of the need to be right. How many arguments are we in? Or how many times are we fighting for something that is not so important that we can't let it go? Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Granted, there are some things that are worth fighting for. I'm not saying that. But look at things and again, step back. Take a look and say, is this worth fighting? They say pick your fights. And so whatever it is that's going on, unless you determine that whatever this is important enough that I'm going to go out on a limb and fight for this, then let go. Let go of the need to be right. It's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to make mistakes. That's part of life. Let go of the need to control. When we when we feel out of control, we try to control the world, and controlling the world makes us feel safer, makes us feel more secure. When it comes to our families, we want the best for them. We want them to be happy. We don't want them to experience negative things, and so we try to control them. And what happens to them is they get rebellious, and maybe they do worse things than if we would have just left them alone. Most things, when we try to exert our will to control it, doesn't go our way. If we can just back up and trust that people, give people the respect to make their own decisions. When we have children, obviously we have to teach them and give them consequences, but consequences are different than control. And we have to determine which parts of their life do we still need to have control over, and more and more and more, which parts can we let go of. And then just be passionate about all of life's experiences. Wake up in the morning and just think, it's a new day. It's a wonderful day. What is going to come my way? And whatever comes, you don't worry about it. You don't be anxious about it. You trust that you've got the strength to deal with it. And you trust that God is going to turn this into something good and help you become a stronger person, a happier person. Maybe you're going to be able to help other people. There are so many things that God can do with our circumstances if we don't fight them, if we just allow ourselves to feel them and experience them. Now, I said before, does this mean you don't care? You don't give any, you don't care about it, you are apathetic? And no, we're not saying that at all. Give all you have, work hard, put your all into it, put your heart into it, your gifts, your talents, work hard for what you're doing, but then detach from the future results. Do all you can so that you, like the serenity prayer, help me do everything I can to change it, and the wisdom to know when I can't change it so that I can accept it. So do all you can and then trust that whatever happens will be okay. Okay, so we're talking about developing presence in the moment. We're going to look at 6 areas that influence our energy. These are called the influencers, and I actually did a video series on these. If you want to watch the series, a full series on these, they're videos 18 through 31. So as we go on, we're going to look at spiritual, which spiritual really means your spirit and soul versus your physical body. As a Christian, it obviously does involve our faith, but it also is our personality, our soul, who we are. These things will affect how present we can be in the moment. Are you choosing this? Why are you choosing this? What do you believe in? How can you trust that this will be okay? All these things can help you be present in the moment instead of fighting, worrying about the future, or worrying about the past. Mentally, what thoughts are you having? Some thoughts can help you be present in the moment, and some thoughts hinder it. If you're in a meeting at work and you're thinking, oh, I hate these meetings, they're so boring, I hate this person, this is a waste of my time, when is this going to ever end? That is going to help, that's going to keep you from being able to focus and be there. You're off somewhere else. You're wanting to be somewhere else. So what thoughts, how can you change your thoughts? How can you reframe those thoughts? How can you turn off the ones that don't promote it and turn on the ones that do? So maybe you would change your thoughts to say, okay, I don't really want to be here, but apparently my boss thinks it's important. How can I get something out of this? How can I add to the meeting? How can I spend this time in a good way? And that will help you focus, and it will actually make the time go by faster. Emotionally, our emotions affect us. They affect how present you're in the moment. If you're feeling a lot of grief, if you're feeling a lot of anger, these things keep you from actually focusing right now because you've got your mind on that object of your grief, the object of your anger. Now, it might be such that you say, I accept this, that right now I cannot be present in the moment because I'm grieving. That's perfectly okay. All the things we're always wanting to do are not necessarily changing us out of a certain way of feeling, but just helping us become aware. When your emotions are helping, when your emotions are hindering, you either find a way to change your thoughts to change your emotions, or just accept that this is where I'm at right now, but this is affecting how present you are. And you can feel your emotions emotionally or physically or both. Remember, we will say, where are you feeling that in your body? Ask yourself that question if you're feeling anger or grief or whatever. Where am I feeling that in my body? This will help you be present. And your body definitely affects whether you can be present in the moment. When you're at that meeting, you're hungry, she's going on and on past lunch, you're looking at your clock. I'm hungry, my body feels uncomfortable, I'm hangry. If you are having maybe a body part is hurting or you don't feel well, this definitely influences your ability to be present in the moment, to focus on what is going on right now. The social influencer, who in your life helps you be present? Who hinders it? Who do you want to get away from? Who do you enjoy being with? If you want a good example of how to be present in the moment, children are the best example there is. They have this amazing ability to just be focused. What here? This little ant, this flower, this wind in my face. They take such great joy and amazement in the tiny little things of the moment. The last one is environmental. What's going on around us? We mentioned the distractions, right? But other than digital, there are other things. Maybe you're too hot. Maybe you're too cold. Maybe you've got things going around. Maybe you're at college and you stop off at the student center to study, but there's too much going on. So maybe you need to go to the library, or maybe need to go to your room or somewhere where you can be alone. What um, factors are around you. And this has been a really big one with everybody having to work from home, do schooling from home with COVID. How do we minimize the distractions around so we can focus right now? And that's been an issue that people have had to deal with that we didn't have to deal with so much when we were actually leaving and going to the workplace or to the school. So how can you create some tactics to help you overcome whatever distractions are coming your way? All right, that's it. We talked about being having detached involvement. We talked about some tips, some ways to work on developing presence in the moment. If you would like some help in talking through any of this, I would love to be able to talk with you to see whether we would work well for a coaching relationship. There's a link in the show notes. You can schedule a free coaching session. And meanwhile, I hope you have a great week, feeling present in each moment daily. And let me know how that works for you. Take care.